Hello, friends. I am Natalie Dawn Hansen, and I just want to welcome you to another video in this series that I am calling A Neighbor's Reality, How the Coronavirus is Affecting Lives. And how I've shared before is that we all are experiencing the same sort of mandates of social distancing and being in our homes and away from people. And so we have that similarity, but at the same time, we are experiencing this in so many different ways. And so I just really felt impressed upon my heart that I wanted to kind of bring to life some of the stories of our neighbors, of what other people are going through, so that we not only can lift one another up, but really figure out how to support, encourage, and love one another in the midst of this very new, very uncertain times that we are experiencing. And so I'm so excited to introduce to you one of my dearest and best friends. It is definitely a God thing that we are friends. I call her my sister at heart. She married my husband's best friend. I married her husband's best friend. And out of that became just the dearest friends. And it's been a relationship that has just grown over the years. And I'm so grateful that Leanne Elmer is able to join us here today. Leanne, thank you for taking the time.
Of course.
I'm so grateful you are here. And like I have shared, I'm pulling people from different walks of life that are experiencing this in different ways. And Leanne is how she works at one of the most prominent medical facilities in the country, y'all. She works at Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota. And Leanne, can you share with everyone what you do there, and then introduce us kind of to who you are and your family and that sort of thing?
Sure, absolutely. So I'm a speech language pathologist at Mayo, and I work predominantly on the outpatient side, but I also cover inpatient, and I see people after they've had brain injuries. So if they've had a stroke, a brain tumor resection, or if they've had a traumatic injury of some sort. And so my focus in my practice is helping with communication and cognitive deficits after that, as well as speech changes and language changes. So I don't do anything with swallowing, which many colleagues in speech pathology do, but that's not my area of expertise. And I live in Rochester with my husband, and we've been married, golly, is it almost it's almost 17 years.
I think so.
16 years we've been married, yeah. And we have twin 10-year-olds. So we have boy-girl awins. My little boy is Cameron. Little girl's Claudia. So just the four of us hanging out here.
Right? Oh my goodness. And I just love that you were able to come on, because I think you have just a very unique perspective in that your situation right now is your kids are home and your hubby is home, kind of help with some distant learning. And you are in a unique situation with the clinic and the hospital and where you're going and how things are. And I know we have heard a lot of what is happening in the medical field right now. But I'm wondering, before we jump into that, of what things are like now, is there any way you can explain to us what life was like for you and your family, both personally and professionally, pre-COVID-19?
Yes.
That's always fun to chat about.
So I work full time. So I work Monday through Friday, some Saturdays, but not too often. And then my husband works full time as well, and he doesn't work from home either ordinarily. So we're both running into work every day, and the kids typically stay home from school in the morning and get on the bus, and then they come home to an empty house and entertain each other for about an hour or so. And they just wrapped up a basketball season before COVID hit, and they they like to do sports and activities, and we play with them a lot. So we kind of just are working around them right now. I go to a gym, but I don't do that right now either. So
right. Okay. And I know this only because you're a really good friend, is that you have so many friends and you love social outings. And that was a big part of your lives, connecting with people and going out and so that's not really happening in the way that it used to. And so let's talk a little bit about that change now. This might be a long little answer, but if you want to just take one kind of section at a time, so you can start whichever one you want. Like, what has changed personally for you because of this, and what has changed professionally for you?
Sure. So personally, I feel like I have more, like I never get to be home that much. And so it's very nice for me to be home and I'm not sad about it. We joke that my husband is extraordinary at organizing events and outings. And so he's
Yeah.
very committed to staying in contact with people. So he often
Which
will
is
give
a
me the
gift,
roster.
really.
It is.
A lot of
And I
people
know,
can't do that well.
and I'm in the minority for, like, I think a lot of women make the schedules for their family and I'm definitely not that person. So Darcy is always, that's my husband's name, Darcy. He's always scheduling events, dinners, play dates, lots of things. So I kind of get home from work and then we just go, 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 go. So I'm sleeping a lot more than I did before. and,
For sure.
and that's good. And we are eating at home a lot more than we did before. And that's a weird change, but lovely at the same time. So a lot of the girls I work with, we typically would spend time together after work and hang out, and now we're not doing that, although we are doing like Zoom calls, and so we can see each other there. We've done FaceTime calls with friends now too, and trying to keep the kids connected that way. But other than that, I mean, we're just probably doing what everybody else is doing. As far as work goes, there's been a lot of changes. We had to stop having, I shouldn't say stop, but we reduced our outpatient caseloads to about 2%. So only seeing people that were essential to see face to face, which is tricky to go through and decide, well, who needs to come in, who doesn't need to come in. And then there's certain diagnoses that you really can't treat over a video call, but we started doing that, which is something that we were planning to do in the future, but we got it up and running very quickly. And
I know we're forced into it, right? Like,
yeah,
in your lap. Now you can't wait. You better just do it now.
yeah. So there's a little bit of a learning curve that goes with that, a little bit of frustration depending on how comfortable people are with technology and how
Right.
creative people are with treating in a different element. But I have to say, it is pretty beautiful to be able to see patients in their own home and see what kind of an environment they have and see why it would be so hard to do some of the things that they have to do. And I've met a lot of people's dogs, which is really funny. So, but it's good. I mean, it's been really challenging as a clinician too, to just find a different way to do it. And I mean, I've been working for almost 17 years. So to be able to like try on a few different skill sets, it's good. It's a good challenge. As for when I'm in the hospital, which
What's that like? Are you nervous when you go? What kind of protocol are you
no,
having to follow? Is it
I'm not really nervous about it. I did contact my provider to just ask because I have asthma, and so I just want to make sure, like, is it a big deal if I'm with patients? And because we do direct patient care, I work on the rehab unit mostly, and it's up and running. Just with a few different things, we don't round in patients' rooms right now because then you have a lot of people in one space. So we will do phone call conferences in the patient rooms. We've tried Zoom calls, it's a little more tricky. So we're doing a little bit of that. And then when you come into work, you have to be masked now. You have to have your badge on at all times, which was never the case before. Just to come into work, you get screened at the door. All our visitors get screened. Now they just put into place that everybody on campus has to be wearing a mask. So that's a new change. And kind of exciting is that we get to wear scrubs now because they dropped the dress code for a while.
You have to dress up every day.
So that's made a big difference. But the other difference,
when
when I get home, I like take off my clothes in the entryway and wash them and shower and just because you just don't want to bring any of that stuff home. So there's like all these memes, I'm sure, of people that are disrobing in their front yard before they come in. But I haven't treated anybody with COVID, so I'm not with it. There are people that are on our unit that have been tested, but now they figured out to test before they bring them. So there's different protocols that I feel really safe there actually, and probably more safe because I have more access to masks, gloves, gowns, that kind of thing. So
do you feel that there has been a cut down on the amount of family that's been allowed into the hospital? Because I know
oh yeah, absolutely.
So
they have been
any of that challenge and that heartache?
Oh, for sure. So a lot of people are they don't have any visitors coming in right now, and so usually when you're on rehab, our goal is to talk to your family members so that we can give you tools and training so that you can get home and be successful. And so it's very different now because there aren't people to train and teach. And when you're trying to figure out things about somebody, they don't have the like you
answers
can't
your
ask
meeting.
family to answer for them. So in some way it's kind of helpful in that they're forced to speak on their own and do their own thing. But at the same time, I called a family member's mom or wife, and I was asking her about things like, is this true about your
Right.
life? Is this true? Because it was said in therapy, but I don't know if it's true. And so we feel a little bit like a tarot card readers and things.
Right,
It's like,
right.
is this really
Is
your
this
life
what's
or not?
happening?
Yes, because people can't always communicate what they really have going on at home. Patients are sad. Like it's hard because they know they're alone, and there's, they're going through one of the hardest times of their life. So to not have people there is really
Well,
tricky.
and especially at Mayo, where so many people go there for special surgeries to see specialists. They are there because they're probably pretty sick. And I
Yeah,
just can't imagine. I mean, years ago, my dad went.
I
I
know.
cannot imagine him having to be there and going through that without my
Mhm,
mom, without the
mhm,
family. And so my heart just really is aching for all these people having to really do that on their own.
for
I've had
sure.
friends who have had parents going for surgeries where mom has had to drop dad off at the door and can't even leave the car. And I mean, so those things are hard.
Absolutely,
And do you feel
absolutely.
like the medical staff has really had to step up to a new level of care than has ever really fully been expected before because of that?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, just we've had to do a lot more phone calling to families
Mhm.
to make sure that they're in the loop so that they don't
Right.
feel left out. Um, there's, I mean, I think we do a pretty good job of reducing communication breakdowns between our institution and family just because we want to make sure we take the time to do that.
I feel like you
Um,
pride yourselves on that, really. I think that is something that Mayo has always done so well.
I think so. I think so. But of course,
Mhm.
I'm very biased. So,
Well,
um, yeah, I think
what do you
everyone's been really stepping up, I think, as best they can. Of course, everybody reacts differently too. So
right,
that's
and
something.
trying to
Hmm.
fill perhaps needs that need to be met, people are stepping in and that sort of thing. I think just like
Hmm.
maybe we are doing in real life right now is filling in where the needs are. I'm
Yes.
guessing the same sort of thing is happening in places like Mayo
Yeah.
where they see something falling, they're just stepping in to make sure that everything is just continuing. The care is continuing.
There's a lot of people doing different jobs, but I will say in the most systematic way you can imagine. It wasn't like, okay, just like sign up and help wherever. Like, it's very, very organized and systematized still.
That's amazing.
Like none other. And I think it's comforting because you just like
Mhm.
for a while we're thinking, are we going to be like, am I going to be the one testing people?
And
No,
it's a
I'm not going to be
level
the
of
one testing people.
security. It's a level of, it's one of those things where
Yeah.
there's clear communication for all. And that helps when everybody's on the same level of, okay, we all know what's going on. That's huge.
Oh,
That's huge.
absolutely.
So, what do you think for you has been the biggest challenge for you personally or professionally? What's been the biggest challenge?
Oh, golly, the biggest challenge. I think I'm not great at homeschooling. That's for sure. We can be clear about that. But I have so much respect for our teachers. It's insane.
I
It's
know.
absolutely amazing. So that part has been challenging. It's also been hard to see my colleagues, people struggle in different ways. And so there's some people that are totally terrified of getting, sick in some way. And then there's other people that are like, I don't know, maybe I should, you know, just take a furlough here at work and then go to New York. I mean, it's like
Wow.
insane how everybody kind of goes on different
Different
lines
spectrums
of
of the,
thinking.
yeah,
Oh, absolutely.
yeah.
And the other thing that's a little bit tricky is that, like, we don't necessarily have to tell people if we're exposed to COVID because it's our medical information. And so
Yeah.
that's a little tricky too, because you'll find out someone was exposed and you're like, did I have lunch with them?
Right.
Wait. So that's just something to think about too, because other people want to know. And I mean,
Mhm.
it's a
Wow.
little dicey. Um, and now we're just dealing with all of the furlough situation. So
Mhm.
they've
Mhm.
asked people to volunteer. They've asked people,
Yeah.
and then some people, I think it won't be a volunteer situation at some point, but we're still in the middle of trying to decide that.
That's hard. That's real. That's life for people.
Mhm.
Then that comes home and it changes
Mhm.
reality and it adds stress and worry. And I think a lot of people are dealing with the repercussions of what's going to happen with the economy, which is just going to be hard.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
What do you think? I know one of your answers. Maybe you'll say it, maybe you won't. But what is the Well, I just know what you were planning on doing at the end of March, and I'm just wondering what was some of your biggest disappointments that came in the midst of this kind of happening.
It was a little disappointing that we didn't get to go on our family vacation. We were planning to go to Turks and Caicos, check out the island. So that was a little sad, but I did take a little footnote from my kids, and they were very, very chill about it and very okay with the change in plan. And so I thought, all right, well, they're handling this well.
I better handle
I can
it.
handle this well too. So they honestly, they roll with the punches so beautifully. So, and we'll be able to go a different time, hopefully, if we can get PTO. That's the other thing is we're worried about, is that as everything ramps up again, if we'll be able to take time off later on in the year. But we'll just take it day by day.
You just said exactly what I've been saying to my family, I think, for the last month. You know what? We're just doing this one day at a time.
Exactly.
Because our calendars literally got wiped. We really can't.
All the work you put into your calendar.
It's a lot of work, like color coordinated calendar, Leanne. And I know. Dry erase marker. I was like, I guess we won't be doing this. And it's a big deal. We live by that calendar. And I just visited with one of my good friends who's a teacher, and she was explaining her morning, like their routine pre-COVID. And it was all about, okay, who's going where, when, who's writing the bus. That is what the conversation was in the mornings. And now it's so
and now, yes, like the other day I was still thinking, what do we have to do tonight? And now I'm like, oh no, we don't have to do that. But I do have to take my temperature twice a day. Isn't that funny?
That's good.
Make sure. Don't want to be symptomatic.
Okay, so we know that there's been disappointments for sure. And we've experienced some of those here, nothing huge. But I know that there are people that are experiencing disappointments, and that's hard too. But in the midst, I have been more surprised than not of all of the awesomeness that's happening just even in our home. So I would love to hear if you have any just surprised blessings that you've seen and you've witnessed and you've been a part of that you would just love to share.
Oh, for sure. Well, we've been spending a lot of time playing basketball when the weather permits, which has been really fun. Playing with the kids, like we just wouldn't ever have the same time. We spend a lot of time with them, but often with other people. And so when it's just the four of us, it's pretty special. I love when we're cooking together. We have a good rhythm now of who does what in the kitchen and who cleans up what. So that's been really fun. Cool. Claudia's been doing a good bit of baking. That's fun. And we've just sleeping more, watching more movies. No one seems to be like snarky because we're not tired.
I know.
I love that.
It's cranky. It's amazing. And I have had one day where one kid woke up and it was like a nightmare. And all I knew to be true was that you did not sleep well. And I knew it because he came into our bed that night, kind of scrambling in. I think he had a nightmare. That was Parker. And so I knew he hadn't had a great night's sleep, but that was really the only time where I've really seen that crazy, like I can't handle my emotions. Otherwise, everybody's just been cool and
weird.
And it's because they're sleeping and we're not staying up till 9 or 10 at night running to baseball games or basketball games or whatever it might be. And getting up early to run to jazz band, or the schedule is so chillax right now. And they are loving it. Like you would die if you saw Samuel every day in his robe. He wears that thing all day long. So does Parker. And I thought, should I be making them get dressed? But there is it's just hilarious.
They're amazing.
Small. It's like 3/4 length.
Perfect.
But he still digs it. And he's still getting his work done because I'm one that I like to get up and get dressed if I have work to do.
Sure.
But he's managing it just fine. And he even said the other day, I'm like, do you miss your friends? And how are you feeling? I check in on that quite a bit. And they're so resilient, kids are. You are so right. So often, way better than what we handle them. And so, yes, they miss their friends. Yes, they miss school. But, Samuel even said it the other day. He's like, I just love how we're all so relaxed. And I went, geez.
Oh, he gets
He did. And he said, gosh, if this were look at the time, Mom, it's 9 o'clock. If this were real life, it's what
Really?
you said. If we were living real life, like life back a month ago, I'd probably just be getting home from a game and then having to eat and then having to shower. And then I wouldn't be to bed till this time. And then I'd have to get up early. And so I don't know if I mean, I knew it was kind of a hard schedule we were running, but I didn't always know how it required a lot of them.
Oh, for
And
sure.
now they're just sensing that release, and I'm finding that they are back to, and here they are, 13 and 15, my older two, they're back to kind of just being kids, just playing. And I've mentioned this before with another interview, is that they realize that they have one another, and that's about it right now.
Right.
And therefore they are getting along. What in the world? Praise God.
I know.
It's
same thing in our house. It is really sweet. And I think if this builds the foundation of a lifelong friendship, right on.
Right. And
we might just tell them that we are stuck here permanently. We won't even tell them when the governor.
I know. Sorry, we're just staying here. This is life for the rest of our lives. No, I don't know if I could fully handle that. I could not handle not seeing you face to face for the rest of my life. But I really do hope that it will perhaps change our perspective once we move forward. We'll see, right, how life changes once things get up and rolling. Do you have any last words of encouragement or tips? Tips for anyone in your field of work, in any medical kind of field of work that can be really stressful and challenging, or for any mom trying to balance the home and if you have any other encouraging tips that you'd just love to share?
I guess what I just keep thinking about so much is how we've all been created as this body of Christ, and how, it's not like one person is more important than the other, and having, the people that are the heroes right now are working at grocery stores, right? They're not, it's just amazing how we're all necessary. And I just hope that no one forgets that as we move forward, that every single part, I hear it all the time in the news and on social media about like doctors and nurses. They are, they're getting us through, which is in large part very true. Their role is huge, but there's also housekeepers, and there's also the coding people that work back behind the scenes, and there's the people that work in supply chain. Like there are so many roles that are being fulfilled that none of us really see. And so I think it's just really important to know there's always more than meets the eye, and that we're created as this body. The other thing I keep thinking about is
I love it.
that we have, I don't know if you're familiar with the Enneagram. Have you heard about that? Yeah. So there's these 9 types, right? 9 personality types of the Enneagram. And just realizing, like, I've used this experience to really try to see things through those different lenses. The people I work with are people that are scared to come into work. And so then you think, okay, well, she's clearly someone who sees it differently than I do, because I don't have that same perspective. I'm a 3, so I'm more like, okay, there's a job to do. We go in and achieve it. And I just do what they tell me to do. And if they tell me to stop coming, I'll stop coming. And I'm pretty much a really great worker bee, but I don't shine in leadership. And so then I think of the people that are leaders, people that are more like, 8s on the Enneagram, and they're just rocking it. And so it's so fun to just see how everyone can function in their own way, but also what I hope is that everybody can try and see their perspective too, because there's people, that have really like irrational fear of some things, and then there's people that are really blowing this off as if it's no big deal. And that's not, there's reasons for it, and I want us to try and appreciate one another and how we all share different perspectives, and that's not bad. It's not bad at all. It's just whatever brought us to this. So yeah, it's
true. And so many factors go in to determining who we are and how we're responding to this situation.
Absolutely.
And so, go ahead.
And I heard someone say in a sermon once, like, when we're all like tubes of toothpaste, and when life kind of squeezes you in a different way, like what's inside really comes out. And you can just tell if people are hanging on the edge ordinarily, and then you get squeezed like this and it's not going well. Or if someone was pretty healthy from a mental standpoint before, and then it's like, oh, I can roll with the punches on this. And so it just, the people that aren't handling this well make me think like, okay, after COVID goes away, we need to maybe revisit some of this to see how we can reach out and help them. Because I think it's more like the straw that broke the camel's back instead of
Yeah.
the thing that flew everything into
I
it to
think
me.
you are absolutely right. I think
So,
you're
yeah.
right. Oh, that's such
I
great
hope we,
encouragement to just
I don't know about
love
that, but
people where they are, to try. No, it's so good
yes.
to try to, before we judge, before we,
Mhm.
don't understand somebody else's perspective, to just pause and go, okay, let me try to understand where you're coming from. And let
Yes.
me first see you the way God sees you, and the way he
Yes.
made you unique and
Mhm.
creative in your own way to do your own thing. And I need to appreciate that first, right?
Yes.
To
And I can
acknowledge.
tell you, sorry, I know that we're trying to wrap up, but there's
Good.
perspectives are what stimulate different ideas that make solutions happen, that get ideas triggered, that I just like in a large part, like at work, we won't have to furlough as many people because certain folks came to the table with different ideas, and it things I never would have thought of. So I just would have gone with it. Like, yep, you say we have to furlough, we have to furlough. And other people said, no, 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 we're not going to do that this way. Let's try this and this. So it really, it's life changing for people.
Yes. Oh, it's beautiful. I love
You
that.
are.
I hate to end,
I
Leanne.
know,
Thank
I
you
miss
so
you.
much for being here. I miss you
Oh, it's so
too.
fun.
Oh,
Thanks for all you're doing to encourage people during this time, because it's tricky. It is hard when you feel like, oh gosh, the sun came up again. Here we go.
yeah.
Same old Groundhog Day. So I appreciate that you are making each day noteworthy for people.
Well, thank you for saying that. I just waking up because I know that I need to wake up that way, right?
Mm.
With a little bit of the word for sure. And I also never just know fully who's going to need a little bit of a message today. And even if it's just one person, then it's all worth my time. It's all worth my effort. I'm just grateful to have the means to be able to do it. Before I close, I just want to pray for you and
Oh,
for all of
thank
those in
you.
your field. So will you join me in prayer?
Of course.
Awesome and gracious God, thank you so much for today. Thank you so much for Leanne and for the work that she does so courageously, Lord, and so beautifully. And we pray for her and her staff and her colleagues and for all of those working in the medical field, on the front lines, behind the scenes, you name it, Lord. They are giving their time and their effort and their energy to just do the work that you call them to do, to serve and to love. And despite the fact that there are some challenges because of the situation we're in, Lord, they are not cowering. They are rising to the occasion. And we are so grateful that you are in the midst of helping turn this time of struggle and hardship for many, and really trying to lift up all of the good and the blessings that are happening in the midst of this. And so I just pray for your blessing and for your work to continue, for all of those working in the medical field this day, Lord. We ask this all in your son's name. Amen. All right.
Thanks, Nat.
Thank you, Leanne, for being here. Thank all of you for just tuning in today. Check out the more videos to come, and we hope you have a wonderful day. Take care. Breathe peace. Thanks for sharing.
Bye.